Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, where today I will be talking about the 1946 noir classic, The Big Sleep. And in this film, private detective Philip Marlowe is summoned to the mansion of General Sternwood, who tells Marlowe that the task at hand is to resolve a series of personal debts his daughter Carmen owes to bookseller Arthur Geiger. But there may be more going on than the general claims, or in fact, possibly than the general knows. As Marlowe leaves the property, Sternwood's other daughter, Vivian, warns the private investigator that she suspects her father's true motive for hiring a detective is to find his protege, Sean Regan, who disappeared a month earlier. Marlowe soon has bigger concerns than the specific reason he was hired, however. Arthur Geiger has been killed, and he's soon followed to a premature grave by Sternwood's driver, Owen Taylor. Do these murders have something to do with a previous blackmailing scheme against wild child Carmen Sternwood? Where did Sean Regan disappear to, and why? Are these mysteries related? Is local gangster Eddie Mars, who just so happens to have been Geiger's landlord, somehow involved in some or all of these events? And what part does the distractingly lovely Vivian Sternwood have to play in all this? So if all you really want to know from this video is should I watch The Big Sleep, then I can save you some time because the answer is yes. This is a very good movie, a genuine noir classic that's rightly been deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the US Library of Congress. Even if you aren't familiar with The Big Sleep's esteemed position in the history of crime cinema, there are plenty of clues that you're in for something special. It's helmed by Howard Hawks, one of the greatest directors of the era, a man whose directorial style and use of natural, conversational dialogue has been a major influence on many noted filmmakers, including such diverse talents as Robert Altman, John Carpenter, and Quentin Tarantino. You've got one of the great screen couples of any era with the scintillating chemistry of Bogart and Bacall in what is, in my opinion, the best film they made together. You've got a script by future Nobel Prize winner William Faulkner, based on an esteemed novel by famed crime author Raymond Chandler. And it would take deliberate sabotage for this film to not be good. So yeah, you should see this movie. But if you want a little more context, without plot spoilers, because I think this is definitely a case where the twists and turns are part of the fun, then I'm happy to provide it. So this movie's quotes page on IMDb has literally dozens of entries, and there's a good reason for that. Chandler always had a gift for snappy dialogue, and this film has both a script and a cast that do justice to his gift. Marlowe can handle gunplay and fistfights just fine, but his weapon of choice is most definitely words. Watching him verbally spar with suspects, witnesses, and even his clients is a real joy. Not that Marlowe is the only one with sparkling dialogue, mind you. Though Howard Hawks was not sufficiently progressive to be an actual feminist, he was fond of depicting strong-willed, verbally incisive women on screen. So much so that there's an a Wikipedia page for the Hawksian woman. Female characters who are defined as being upfront in speaking their mind and keeping up with their male counterparts in witty banter. Willing to take action to get what they want personally and sexually, they can be seen as the fast talker, frank, and can beat a man in verbal sparring. In an era where the film scripts would allegedly feature funny plot lines, such as a man kidnapping a woman to punish her for not being sufficiently polite to him after he drenched her in water, as occurs in the terrible 1941 offering Robot Pilot, and I'm not in any way exaggerating here, that's actually the plot of the film. Hawks was a very progressive kind of attitude. He allowed these women to interact on a more or less equal footing with the men. Now, the fact that a Hawksian woman had sexual desires contributes to one of The Big Sleep's most memorable and quoted sequences, Marlowe and Vivian's blisteringly saucy discussion of horse racing, which, in case you haven't walked it out already, has absolutely nothing to do with horses or racing. How they got this past the Hays Code censors of the time, I'm really not sure. Now, about 18 months ago, I posted a video about The Maltese Falcon, another highly regarded film that's either noir or proto-noir, depending on your definitions. Like The Big Sleep, that movie features a private detective, played by Humphrey Bogart, who gets roped into a case where there are far more moving parts than he's first informed. Like The Big Sleep, it's also based on a successful crime novel by a famed author, though in this time it was Dashiell Hammett rather than Raymond Chandler, and the PI was Sam Spade, not Philip Marlowe. This is relevant to today's video because one of my few complaints about the Maltese Falcon is in fact Sam Spade. He's just a little too capable and assured, in control of almost every scene and able to see through almost every ruse at a glance. Something of a feature of Hammett's protagonists, I have to say. Even in the very rare occasions where Spade is temporarily outmanoeuvred, it's never for long, and it never really feels like he's in much jeopardy. Now, don't get me wrong, Sam Spade is a fun character, a real magnificent bastard, but to my mind, so much so that it creates a certain lack of tension that hurts the movie if you try to watch it as a thriller rather than just the Sam Spade show. And that's not the case here. Philip Marlowe is a capable private investigator and a smart human being, but unlike Spade, he doesn't completely dominate almost every scene he's in. He's got plenty of clever quips in his verbal arsenal, but he's far from the only one, and he doesn't automatically get all the best singers in a conversation, or even the final word in some cases. He sometimes gets outplayed in other ways too, which makes Marlowe feel fallible in a way that Spade never does. He's a bit less magnificent and a bit less of a bastard, and, in my opinion, a much better protagonist because of it. Now, the last item I wanted to discuss was the film's production and release, which is a little unusual and resulted in there being two versions of this movie. You see, the bulk of the film was actually shot in 1944, and the film was ready for release in early 1945. In fact, it was released then, but only to the military to show to troops fighting in the South Pacific. Warner Brothers decided to postpone the public release until after they had turned out their backlog of war-related films. The studio film feared that the public might lose interest in military movies as the war wound down, while The Big Sleep's subject matter would still be relevant and relatable. This delay in release would result in changes to the film. You see, Bogart had divorced his third wife and married Bacall in early 1945. The public's resulting obsession with the couple prompted Bacall's agent to ask the studio for reshoots of The Big Sleep. These reshoots were very much focused on bolstering Bacall's role and thus her acting career, which had taken something of a hit with her poorly received performance in the 1945 film Confidential Agent. The result was the replacement of about 20 minutes of the original footage, mostly depicting detective work and plot exposition, with new scenes that emphasised the chemistry between the famous couple. The most notable new scene is that horse racing conversation I mentioned earlier. Now, both versions of the film are now available to those who want to see them. Some DVD releases of the movie include both versions, in fact. As to which is better, opinions differ. The 1945 original is favoured by some because they feel the details of the case are more coherent, while others, including Roger Ebert, favour the 1946 edition for its faster pace and charge. Personally, I've only seen the 1946 version, and in my opinion, it's well worth the watch, so I can certainly recommend it. I can't comment on the 1945 version. Next time, from the sublime to the ridiculous. Andy Sidaris made a dozen films between 1985 and 1998. None of them were good, but with the second of the 12 offerings, 1987's Hard Ticket to Hawaii, he actually managed to make one that was, despite its many, many flaws, a goofy kind of fun. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you've seen today's movie, let me know what you thought of it.